This aftermarket bumper on this Lexus GX 460 looks really cool, but it's not cool. Today I'm going to talk about how this DV8 aftermarket bumper absolutely destroyed the sheet metal on this brand new Lexus GX 460. I'm also going to talk about why you don't want to get an aftermarket bumper for your truck or SUV until you watch this video first. So it's a cool looking bumper, but it destroyed the car because the instructions for this DV8 bumper said to connect the metal bumper, this black stuff here that's connected to the frame, it said to connect that to the body of the car. In other words, to the 22 gauge sheet metal. And I went against my better judgment and trusted the DV8 instructions that said go ahead, attach it to the sheet metal. And it proceeded to absolutely rip apart the front radiator support and the side clips, in other words the sheet metal that goes off of the radiator support, and did massive damage to the sheet metal. So today we're going to keep it real in hopes of saving someone out there from this headache of a DV8 bumper destroying their Lexus GX 460. Now the reason why I'm making this video is because I saw recently someone on YouTube with the same DV8 bumper on their Lexus GX 460, and I don't want them to go through the nightmare and the headaches that I've had to go through and the repairs that I'm about to show you. Alright, so let's go over some of the damage. So as you can see here, I'm going to shine the light where I welded up. So you can see right there, there was a crack, and that had to be welded, so it split the wheel well here. And the crack goes not only right there, but it goes up towards where the airbox sits as well. And that is cracked like that due to the radiator support breaking. So everywhere that you see is black here is just the paint that I had laying around, but you can see where I'm shining this light, those ugly looking welds are what was needed to repair this. So let's get a better view, and you can kind of see that all this is cracked right where my light is, and you see those ugly welds. There's no way a professional welder would take on this job with the amount of carnage. So that's on this side, but what about the other side? Well, let's go over here and we'll keep checking out the carnage. This side, this side completely sheared off this section of radiator support. So this was completely gone. And this incidentally is where they had DV8 wanted you to attach the bumper, which is right there, which is connected to the frame, to here. It tore that apart. And it caused the chain reaction of the sheet metal wanting to rip itself away. Here is the other wheel well, and you can see there's a crack there. So that tore apart. That had to be welded up. There's all sorts of issues underneath the where the battery sits. It was all torn apart. So it basically caused a chain reaction, again, of sheet metal ripping itself apart. So in this wheel arch you got, it ripped there, and it ripped there. Let's look at the back side here of the radiator support, and this whole piece was missing. It ripped right off. Now, that's not all. It's hard to see, but again, everything painted black. There's the inside of the wheel arch. Made a good rip down there, right where the flashlight is. I know it could be tricky to see. There's the inside of the wheel well down there. Underneath the battery had to come out, and it was ripped all underneath where the battery sits. That had to be welded up. This plastic cover's in the way, but the radiator support was cracked and torn in about 3 or 4 locations. And then underneath the air box was all torn up as well. Okay, let's take a closer look at the carnage here. I know it's hard to see on the outside of the vehicle once everything's in, but this is essentially your front clip of your Lexus GX460. Again, this is the sheet metal, and it's attached to the frame by rubber bushings. Anyway, in red are all the areas that the DV8 bumper shredded our GX460's sheet metal. And it was a brand new GX460, and it was white like this one. So let's start here at the bottom. This is that triangular piece that went missing. This is where DV8 had a big, thick quarter-inch plate attached to this 22 gauge sheet metal. 22 gauge is about the thickness of 2 sheets of paper stacked on top of each other. So this was attached to the rest of the bumper, which then was attached to the ladder frame. They flex at different rates, and it started yanking back and forth on this area here and completely ripped this apart. Once that ripped apart, it started cracking everywhere where you see a red box. So down here where the battery is, over here where the battery is. This is kind of like a battery shelf. It's pinch welded at the factory. All the pinch welds sheared off and ripped off. Up here again. Up here again on the radiator support, the main radiator support crossbar, whatever you want to call this, top of the radiator support. That ripped there, and it ripped there. And essentially the same stuff happened on the other side. So everywhere you see red here is where it got ripped. All right, here we see another view. Again, this is kind of, you can see your headlights going here. So the radiator support's in the front. And again, following the mouse here, you'll see that it was cracked there, it was cracked there. Now this here, this big red box here is where your air box sits, so we had to remove the air box. All this was cracked and ripped. And you can see these are the inside of the wheel well. These all had rips where you see these red boxes. So essentially, once this DV8 bumper started tugging back and forth on this sheet metal, it's just like, just like twisting a bunch of aluminum foil, and it just started to fall apart and rip apart and essentially shred itself. So we had a cracks everywhere along this car. And so I know I said chain reaction, and that's truly what it is. This is where this kind of fender, this is where your battery is, essentially. And in this red here, it peeled away from the front of the radiator support. Now in the factory, there's just sealant there, but there are a number of pinch welds that attach it, and they were all ripped apart as well. And this is kind of hard to show, but you have your radiator support here, and then your front clip or side clip or fender clip here. So this part meets this part along this intersection here. So essentially, the final place where this ripped apart was where the end of the radiator support here meets this side fender, essentially your fender portion of your body. So your fender meets your radiator support. So this junction here, which is this line right here, gets pinch welded at the factory in a few places. All those pinch welds completely ripped away, and I had to get in there with a flux core and and re-weld it and basically stitch it all back together. All right, it's important to note here that these little red boxes look cute and cuddly. In reality, these were rips and tears going every which way in the car. We also had to take out everything. I mean, the bumper had to come off, the battery had to come out, the airbox had to come out to get access to all this stuff. Then we had to grind it down, wire wheel it down to bare metal in order to get this stuff prepped for weld.
had to wrestle the seams, these cracked seams, back together in order to get all this stuff to fit up. And of course, access inside this space with all your components in here was an absolute nightmare. So it was a nightmare to to weld back together, and that's why we didn't even bother with a professional welder, our normal go-to professional welder, because he wouldn't. I'm assuming he wouldn't tackle this job just based on the sheer amount of junk that needed to come out of this vehicle to get access to these areas that needed to be welded. So if I hadn't made this clear, absolute nightmare of sheet metal repair on your Lexus GX460 if you attach it the way DV8 tells you to attach it.
So a lot of painstaking welding, and that's just what it does to the body of the vehicle. The bumper itself, once you take off the silly brackets that attach the sheet metal, then the bumper will tear itself apart. As you can see, we had to weld. Professional welder did this right here. So this all cracked, and it cracked down here, and it did the same thing on both sides. So even if you disconnect this bumper from the body, it tears itself apart, and it broke it completely. And we had to fabricate reinforcements in there. The welder put some nice supports under there and down here on each side to make the thing actually hold up.
So yeah, you'd think DV8 would not be selling this bumper, but as you can see here, the DV8 bumper is indeed being sold by DV8. You can see it being sold here, and here, and down here, and on DV8's official website. Wow, surprising. So instead of doing the right thing, DV8 is doing the profitable thing. But let's go to the instruction in question. Surely DV8 changed their instructions after knowing that it will destroy your GX460 sheet metal. Let's find out. It's step number 16 down here, and okay, there it is. Nope, they didn't change it. So as you can see here, this is the bracket in question. In case you didn't know, this is the end of the bumper, and it attaches through this bolt here, another one here, and this white here where this bolt, you can just see one bolt. That's that triangular piece that ripped off that I keep showing you. Well, let's see what the DV8 instructions say, and I quote. I'm going to paraphrase. You already know. Attach the big black piece of metal to the sheet metal, but look at this. This will be tight and may seem incorrect at first, but it is designed to use tension. Secure all points down. It's not incorrect at first, it's just plain incorrect. And DV8, please do the right thing and take these instructions off the internet and correct your design of your bumper so nobody has to go through this on their Lexus GX460.
So the lesson here is never attach any aftermarket bumper to the sheet metal of your vehicle, no matter what the instructions say. Admittedly, this is part my fault and part DV8's fault. I knew attaching to the bumper seemed a little sketchy, but I trusted DV8 and their instructions, and being new to the Lexus GX460 platform at the time, I trusted that, well, maybe they tested it and the bushings on this car from frame to body are tight and maybe they don't flex at different rates and maybe they know something I don't. Well, I was wrong, and I paid the price, and I just don't want to see anybody go through this. So no matter what bumper you're getting, make sure it stays off the body. Now, I know to many people that's common sense, and of course you wouldn't do that, but there is the tendency to trust the designer of this thing and say, okay, maybe, you give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they know something I don't. But in this case, it didn't work out. Lots of repairs had to be made. So keep in mind what you're putting on for aftermarket parts on your nice Japanese vehicle or whatever vehicle you have. All right, if you found this video helpful, please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you, and have a great, great day.
My door, I've been feeling the boom. Just a little after 4. The rest of what that core was really just for. Yo, break out the sword and let's go cruising in your Ford. Watch out, yeah, sweet snow is the deal. As she shouted, it's the funky lesson 1 to the grill. I should have known that something wasn't right in walking. The biggity boom was just ticking and clocking. A night boy in plaid is passed from his dad. Another straight in the fight, man, but he wasn't from the right clan. To stop all the nonsense, defense is my defense. Oh yeah. I know the mode is daily dense. Time has passed on, but it's been a million days. We're still ninth and divided, running round in haze. Nothing divided. Nothing divided from the century of the cool cat. Deep down with the cling of the hot hat. Flip that bass and then they're knocking at my door. I've been feeling the boom since a little after 4. So what's up with that core? Was he really bored? Yo, break out the sword. Let's go cruising in your Ford. Yeah, watch out, yo, sweet snow's the deal. As she shouted it out to funky lesson 1 to the group. I should have known that something wasn't right and walked